The clean drilling fluid is transferred from the rig's active tanks to the mud pumps and then pumped via the discharge line to the drilling rig. Once the fluid reaches the rig, it travels up the standpipe, through the Kelly hose and down through the top drive or Kelly into the drill string. The drilling mud travels down the inside of the drill pipe all the way to the drill bit at the bottom of the well bore. As the high-pressure fluid exits the bit nozzles, heat and drill cuttings are carried away from the bit face. The cuttings-laden fluid travels up the annulus between the drill pipe and either the borehole wall or casing. The fluid travels along this return line to the solids control system via the possum belly, which deposits it onto the rig's shale shakers. The rig shakers separate the majority of the drilling fluid from the larger cuttings. These wet cuttings drop off the end of the rig shakers and are directed onto the drying shakers mounted on the skid below. The drilling fluid that falls through the screens on the rig shakers is collected in the sand trap. The mud in the sand trap is allowed to settle before the clean fluid flows into the rig tanks ready for reuse. The cuttings from the rig shakers are now processed by our drying shakers. Much like on the rig shakers, any reclaimed drilling fluid drains through the mesh of the screens into the underflow tank, and the cuttings drop off the end into the cuttings bin. The fluid from the bottom of the sand trap tank and the skid tank is pumped through the desander, mounted above the first drying shaker. The overflow, clean fluid, is sent to a separate tank on the skid, and the underflow, cuttings, are deposited back onto the shaker. The mud that has been through the desander is next pumped to the desilters, mounted above the second shaker. The solids from the desilters are dropped onto the shaker again for further processing, and now the desilted fluid is ready for the centrifuge. From the drying shaker skid, the desilted fluid is sucked via the feed pump to the centrifuge trailer's feed tank. From here, the fluid is fed to the centrifuge unit, where the final processing takes place to remove the very fine particles of solids that still remain in the fluid. The fine cuttings removed by the centrifuge are deposited into the cuttings bin by the auger. The cleaned fluid, or centrate, is pumped to the rig's active system, ready for reuse.